Amanda Ruler. So Amanda has a long career in sport, from competing on the track and field soccer team at the University of Regina, then on the Canadian bobsled skeleton team and Team Canada football. She's now transitioned to a full-time football coach. Amanda started coaching running backs at the University of McMaster for 2 seasons. She has experience coaching in the CFL for the Saskatchewan Roughriders as an assistant guest coach for the running backs. And just last year, she did her Bill Walsh Fellowship with the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL as an assistant running back coach. She now is the running back coach in the NCAA at Central Washington University in her first season. Amanda is doing groundbreaking things in the football industry, and her goal is to be a head coach someday. Welcome, Amanda. We're super happy to have you here. And then we have Jen Denowden. Jen's journey as the CEO of Avana is one of breaking barriers, shattering glass ceilings, and paving the way for change. Having faced adversity in a male-dominated industry, Jen's determination to fight for equality and empower others is deeply rooted in her experiences. She champions meaningful discussions on pay equity, female leadership, affordable housing, and the limitless possibilities of personal growth. Jen's transformative leadership has garnered recognition, including being named among the top 40 under 40 in construction and being celebrated as one of Saskatchewan's future 40 young leaders, thinkers, builders, and change makers by CBC. Her journey is not just about leading a successful company. It's about rewriting the narrative of what is possible for women in business. Jen's vision and passion for equality have been the driving forces behind her success. With Avana, Jen and her diverse team are revolutionizing the real estate industry, creating an inclusive and equitable space where everyone can thrive. Through her inspiring story and unwavering commitment, Jen is building homes, breaking down barriers, and shaping a brighter future for all. Amazing. So again, thanks, Jen, for being here. This is exciting. So now that we've got the intros and the breakout sessions out of the way, let's get into our panel discussion. So the first question I've got here is, in your opinion, what skills or characteristics are important to strengthen when you are in a male-dominated industry? So I'm going to start with Shelly for this one. You're on mute. Yeah, you're just muted, Shelly.
Okay. Okay, I think I got it. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, so I'll start with that one. That characteristics, I'll start with the characteristics. The one thing that I really went with on this was, I think as women, we need to stick with our characteristics that you're best at. And I'll just use myself as an example. One of the things that I always thought that I'm a compassionate person, I'm empathetic, I'm a good listener. So I really decided that those were the characteristics I was going to take on in my leadership role. And those were the things that I was going to focus on and strengthen to just in order to be myself. And bring that to what I had to offer. So that was the characteristics. And I think I expect every leader to be like to have that, but I think as women, we do that better. And I decided to embrace that, and that was going to be, I wanted to know everybody that I worked with. I wanted to make sure that I had an idea about, how I had an idea about who they were, how many kids they had. And again, that's just being a woman, whether they were men or women, I always kind of took on that role. And I think that set me apart quite a bit from my male counterparts, because a lot of times they didn't, that wasn't even close to being on their radar. Skills. This one I found a little bit hard. This one for me in the policing world, skills are skills. I felt like I needed to, keep up my tactical skills, my firearms skills, my fitness levels, all of those kind of skills. But when I had to look at myself and see what the skills that I needed to work on or that I needed to strengthen were, and I think it was for me, less is more. Inherently, I always thought, okay, I felt like I knew the answer. So I wanted everybody to know that I knew the answer. And, but sometimes I had to work on the fact that Shelly, just sit and let people, let everybody talk, right? Let everybody talk. Less is more. Less is more in emails. Less is more in meetings. You can, as long as you have, a simple comment or a comment that's relevant is much more, uh, I guess, weighty, if for a lack of a better word, holds much more weight than if you have to comment on every single aspect of that meeting. So that's for me.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Great insights. Amanda, do you want to go and then Jen can follow? Oh, you're muted, Amanda.
There we go. Yeah, I have a lot to say on this topic, and it might be a little hard-nosed and come off as crass, but this is exactly what I've learned from working in sports my entire life. Number one, you have to have confidence, because men will always tell you to shut up and bring you down, always, 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 always. There's been several jobs that I've been told just to know my place and be quiet. So it's having the confidence to stand up and just say, I'm here, I'm going to be who I am, I'm going to be that hype man, I'm going to bring my energy, I'm going to bring my knowledge, and I'm not just going to stand there and be like a pawn you can use in a game. So have confidence to be yourself and use that. And don't back down. Never, never back down, and never take an L in front of these guys, because that is exactly what they want to see. And I'm someone that's they want to push down in the industry because my voice is loud. I'm short, but my voice is loud. I stand up for what I believe in, and I come in with the confidence every goddamn day, and they hate it. So that's what you should do. Number two, communication. Guys don't know how to communicate. Sometimes they just have meetings and don't even tell me. I have to constantly text them, be like, what's next? This is what I'm thinking or feeling. They never say the word thinking, feeling. So communication, you got to bring that to the table. And then the third one, be yourself. A lot of the time people tell you not to be yourself. Be yourself no matter what. And I promise you, you'll be genuine. Everyone will appreciate that as much as they can. Skills, you've got to be resourceful. You got to bring that resourcefulness yourself and bring that independence. So when they tell you to do a task, or there's a task that you should do, don't sometimes say, how would you like it done? Just go out, do it yourself. I like to beg for forgiveness. I always use resourcefulness to get things done on my time, get it done as quick as possible, and make sure I have quality work. But you know what? Add some flair to it in the same space. So those are things I think you need to bring to the table.
Amazing. Love it. Jen?
So I would echo a lot of the same sentiment. It used to be told to us as women that we used to need to almost like echo the traits of strong men to be successful. And I just don't think that that's accurate. It's whatever traits really allow you to thrive. It is having those traits, showing those traits, having the confidence and showing up every single day and being true to yourself. And I think confidence is one of the biggest things. It's so easy to be sidelined as a woman in male-dominated industries. And if you don't allow it to happen, eventually they will, stop trying to sideline you because they know it's not going to work. And as far as skills, there is not one specific skill that's required. However, as women, we need to hone our skills, be better, be more, thorough, more accurate. We need to show up more consistently than our male counterparts to be taken as seriously. So whatever our skills are, I would just say to absolutely perfect it as much as you possibly can to increase your chances of success if you're in a male-dominated industry.
Perfect. Thank you. Amazing discussion, amazing insights. Okay, let's shift gears. And now we're going to kind of talk a little bit about dealing with things that you may have experienced, such as microaggressions in the workplace, being a woman trying to fit in. So have you experienced them? And then how do you deal with those microaggressions in the workplace? Let's start with Jen, and then we'll do Shelly and then Amanda.
So I would say deal with those anymore as much because I started my own business, and really over 10 years, I've shaped that business to be a very healthy, safe space for women. However, I know that many, many women in our industry have to deal with that, and not everybody can create their own business and pick and choose, you know, who they deal with or who they hire. Earlier on in my career, I did deal with it a lot, and I just honestly use it to my advantage as much as possible. Standing up for myself, calling it out, standing up for other women. Eventually, you almost earn respect from doing it. It's almost like shocking when women use their voice and stand up for themselves, but calling those things out over time and eventually your peers knowing you're not going to take it from them turns into respect. And so honestly, I use it to my advantage. And again, using your voice, having that confidence to show up for yourself is very important.
Flip the script. I like it. Shelly?
Hi. So, you know what, I guess, 25 years of microaggressions, in my opinion. I sometimes I don't really feel like they're micro. A lot of them were a lot more blatant than just microaggressions. But one of the big ones that I can identify that was, you know, a big one is everyone always used the term female officer, right? Female officer. We never called male officers male officers. We just called them officers. But we called female officers, always identifying them as female, as if that set them apart in their skills and abilities and capabilities than our male counterparts. So that was one of the big ones that I said that I saw. I mean, many others. Male uniforms only. We only ever got male uniforms in smaller sizes. We never actually had female uniforms, those were ingrained in our culture, and they still are, really. Like we're still not there, but we are moving towards, you know, now female uniforms, you know, things like that are a little bit more that we're moving forward. But again, when I joined the RCMP in 1997, females had only been in the RCMP for 23 years. We still had a long way to go. So we were moving forward, but we still, so that's where, you know, the one thing that I did do and what I took on also all the time, same as Jennifer talked about, is calling it out. You know, if someone, why are you saying it's a female member and then you know, another member? Well, if you're going to identify them both by gender, do it for both of them, not just one. So calling it out and making sure that it was not anywhere in my vernacular ever. So changing my own way I spoke, but also calling it out for everyone else.
Excellent. Thank you. Amanda, I'm sure you've got some thoughts on this.
Yes, for sure. I just want to let you guys know where I'm coming from first. So when I worked in the NFL last year, I went up to the head coach. His name's Pete Carroll. He's 70. He's been working in football for 40 some years. First day, he brought me into his office and he says, "I've never, ever worked with a woman before. How do I work with you?" And that's been reigned true from every club I've ever been at. So even when I had an interview here, all the questions they asked me in my interview were, what if one of the football players doesn't respect you because you're a woman? How do you handle this as a woman? Like, nobody asked me any football questions. So I was very upset with that. And then someone say, well, there's a lot of challenges when you hire a woman. My response was, what are the challenges? So some of the stuff I've experienced is like me coming to a football game. I've had fans spit on me. I've had every single day comments being thrown at me on social media saying like, you don't belong in this space, go back to the kitchen, stuff like that. These are little microaggressions. But then in the workplace, comments every day to the players like, oh, you're running like a girl, or you're weak as a girl. Those things actually hurt me because I'm not weak and I am a woman. So just like those types of things hurt my perspective. So I try to, and sometimes they even just say like, go attack that guy. Like when we were doing our stuff yesterday, go attack them. And they use the R word too. Go attack that guy. And it just really hurt me when they say those kind of things. They think I don't know anything. So they say, oh, she doesn't know, or give me less tasks because they think I have no idea what I'm talking about. I can't advance because I'm actually, out of all the women in the NCAA total, out of all the divisions, there's 4 women total. And I'm the only one that has my own positional group. And every time I try to advance, somebody is stepping on me everywhere I go. I've even gone to the point where I've been isolated. Like nobody will talk to me in a full day, like coaches, just because they want to shut me out. Sexual harassment's been very, very huge for me, saying I'm too pretty, I don't know what I'm talking about, comments every day, little sexual comments about me, or sexual jokes that I do not find funny. Touching me in different places that I don't enjoy, my back, my butt. Oh, she likes that. If I complain and tell people about it, oh, she likes it. She was asking for it. Shutting me down, not talking to me because of it. And then I'm emotional and I'm empathetic and I cry. So when I cry, now she's too emotional. And then when I am being aggressive, she's too aggressive. She's out of control. She's too intense. So those are the microaggressions I deal with on a daily basis.
Wow. Well, I think this is a perfect next, lead into the question. It's about barriers and the barriers that you face in your role. And I want to start with you, Amanda. There's the aggressions, but then there's also those barriers. And how do you break through them? And how do you keep wind in your sails to continue doing it?
Whew, a number one part of me keep going. And I will tell you, every single day is very difficult. I find myself at a precipice of what's going to be happening for women in football. And I need to know that if I keep moving forward for this industry, there's going to be so much more women that see the representation, because that mattered. I'm the only one coaching in the Lone Star division. In the CFL, there was like literally none. In the NFL, I was the first one. And there's only like 3 coaches this year, like coaches in the NFL. And everywhere I go, they try to tear you down. And I just keep saying, no, I'm here to stay. Like every day somebody tells me to quit and I'm just like, I'm here to stay. And it's when people like yourselves reach out to me and saying, you're inspiring me. You're helping me continue on my journey. You're telling me it's okay to be myself and continue whatever I'm doing. That keeps me going day after day. And one of the biggest barriers is all the interviews I've ever done. And I've done quite a few interviews for football positions. Number one, I went for the Packers. They were just like, oh, sorry, never mind. You're Coach Ruler. We didn't know you're a woman. We don't hire women. Just being told straight up that we do not hire women, not because what you bring to the table, not all the experience I have. I even went through 3 interviews with the team and they're like, hey, sorry, we have to go with a guy. We just can't have women in the building. We can't have women in the building, as if like I was the biggest liability that they're going to have that season. That has been one of the biggest barriers. And I have found that sometimes even when I try to get out there, people judge me because I wear leggings. They're like, oh, she's too sexual looking. That's been one of the biggest feedbacks for me, because my hair is too long. I wear leggings. I don't dress appropriately for them, which I don't understand. I'm wearing a big baggy sweater. I don't dress to their liking, so they don't like me. So it's not just, I have to actually think about what I wear to practice. Isn't that nuts? The guys just have to prepare, and I have to think about what I'm wearing, how I'm acting, how I'm looking, if I'm not coming on to the players. It's nuts. All these things I have to think about. And that's been some of the biggest barriers I've had to deal with.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. I don't know, Jen. Yeah, okay, there you are. Jen, thoughts on this, barriers that you faced as well in your role and your trailblazing experience?
Amanda, I'm getting like angry just like listening to your story. It's so frustrating. Honestly, for me, I hit a very big barrier a few years ago because we used to finance out of Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's a quite conservative province. And we had just like hit a point that a female-led real estate company had never grown kind of beyond that. And it was super challenging. Like I had commercial banking is very male dominated. And I literally had male bankers say, like, we can't lend any more money to you because you are a woman and women don't grow businesses this big. And until I left Saskatchewan for a lot of our business needs is really when like we smashed through the glass ceiling. We started our business almost 10 years ago and we're just surpassing about 800 million in assets, which is very unheard of, especially from a female-led company from Saskatchewan. So, I mean, my barriers now are significantly less than they once were. I navigated through them. But part of what keeps me motivated is we can be what we can see. And when I started in this industry, there was no female that I could see to model myself after, to, you know, shoot for the stars after. And I kind of became that for myself. And I have two daughters who are 9 and 10. And I absolutely refuse to hand over this industry and the world the way it is for women right now. And so I will fight the fight every single day as hard as I can to make it easier and better for women to exist with every opportunity that they would get if they were a man.
Absolutely. Shelly, I'm sure you've come across some barriers as a female police officer in the late 90s. You've mentioned that things have progressed, but why don't you share some of the significant barriers that you had faced in your roles?
Yeah, I just also want to say, Amanda, it's just boiling my blood because it's everything. You guys are 40 years behind in that industry for sure. And I think everybody's starting to move forward, but it sounds like that is not at all acceptable. But here I think early in my career, honestly, I think sexual harassment was huge, all the time. My first year, in my very first posting, I was 3,000 miles away from home. And I was working with a guy who was just a creep. Anyway, it was Valentine's Day, and he said, "Oh, do you think since it's Valentine's Day, I could have a kiss?" And I'm like, "Really? Your coworker? Like that's because it's Valentine's Day? That's okay." Anyway, that was one of many. Honestly, one of many. Like not wanting to work a night shift with certain colleagues because they were really, really creepy and really always saying, sexual comments. One time I got tripped by somebody just in the middle of all these people, and everybody laughed because it's funny to put women down, right? Like it's funny sometimes. And we've come a long way. But it takes people speaking out. It takes people like Amanda. It takes people like all of us to call them out on it and make sure that this is not okay anymore. You can't. And I remember the one time when this one person, and at the time in the late 90s, when this guy had asked me for the kiss, and then it started to go on with a little more stalking stuff, and that my boss said to me, "Do you want to make a harassment complaint?" And I said to myself, "No way." That is not going to happen, because I know what happens when people make harassment complaints. They get pegged as a complainer, and they get pegged as a troublemaker, and it follows them around. We're not there anymore. And I think that this is where we have to act. We've come a long way. This is not acceptable. And we have to call them out and make those complaints and not be afraid, not be afraid to do that, because I think that's very, very important that we do that. As I got older and as I got into the promotion process and I started to move up in my managerial positions, I think and I think the girls, my Jen and Amanda touched on it earlier, but just being doubted about your capabilities. And I asked, funny enough, my husband was an RCMP officer. And so I said to him this morning, from your perspective, you've watched me walk through this journey. I know for me, I felt like I had 1,000 barriers, and to try to identify one for this group was hard for me. So I said, from your third party looking in on my life, what do you think? And he said, absolutely, you had to prove yourself 100 times more than I did. He said, it was always assumed that I was a male and I could do the job. You never got that. You always had to go above and beyond to prove that you could do the job. So breaking through that, those having to prove extra that I was capable of doing the job. And I'm not so sure that we've come too far on that yet. I think there's still a ways to go. I think women still do have to be exactly right. There's no room for, there's no room for mistakes and that kind of thing. And I hope it's a little better, but that's how it was for me, for sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that the chat, there was lots of people saying like, thank you, I'm angry to Trailblazers. So it's amazing too when you come together at something like this. We're small, but we're mighty in our, Saskatchewan chapter. But I think having the conversation, having people talk about it, continues to, perpetuate us forward, which is exactly what we want to do. So just wanted to say thanks for you guys being here and being so transparent. So let's keep going, and just, we may have on the call here the next generation of females that are going to end up in male dominated industries, are going to try to break through. So what advice would you give to that next generation of females that find themselves in now male dominated, but maybe we can change that? We'll start with Shelly, then we'll go Jen, and then Amanda.
Okay, so I guess for me, the biggest thing is have the confidence to take the opportunities when they're available to you. I know it's been said many times, but I know it's true actually, and because I've heard it from multiple women over the years, is, oh, I'm not ready for that promotion. I'm not ready for that opportunity. I need to learn a little bit more. I need to do this a little bit more. I need to be exactly 100% ready. If there's one thing I can tell you when you're moving into these, the men are never going to be 100% ready. So why should we, right? There is a whole thing about fake it till you make it. And if you really do have to do that sometimes, those opportunities for promotional opportunities for new, new jobs and that kind of thing, they're not always, they're limited in some cases. So don't wait until you're 100% ready. Actually take them when you can get them, and don't doubt yourself. Have the confidence to do that, and just know that you may not feel 100% ready, but I would have to say 80% of the time, when we don't feel we're 100% ready, we're at least 90% ready. So just be confident, take the opportunities when they're available.
Yeah, Pam just said, lean into it, lean into those new opportunities. Male counterparts definitely will. Absolutely. Jen?
I would say my advice would be to believe in yourself and advocate for yourself, because nobody else is going to. If you're surrounded, by...
Oh, we might have technical difficulties here. We'll see if Jen comes back. There we go. No, it's okay.
It keeps reloading. Yeah, so advocate for yourself, believe in yourself. Nobody else is going to. But the biggest thing I would say is don't allow a glass ceiling to be placed over you. And they say glass ceiling because you can't see it. No one tells you they're putting it there or you're putting it there. I still experience that. I experienced it even with my own family. It was like they didn't really want me to go into a male dominated industry. And then when I got here and became a little bit successful, it was like, that should be good enough. You should stop growing. You should stop doing this. And that really is putting a ceiling over me, which I did not want. Even now, my husband is like, do we have to keep, doing this or entering a new province? And it's like, I feel if I were male, I wouldn't be questioned so much about my drive. And although they love me and they do, they're not meaning to put that ceiling on me, people attempt to all the time. And I believe in myself enough, and I will advocate for myself enough to smash it every year if I have to. So whether you're working in a job or you're in business, I mean, just if you want to keep going, keep going. Believe in yourself, advocate for yourself, advocate for equal pay, equal benefits, equal opportunities, and just show up for yourself. Because again, nobody else probably is going to.
Yeah, thank you. Amanda, your thoughts?
Because we are women, I already know that your biggest critique. I know you're very hard on yourself. So you know what? Just do it. And like you said over there, you're never going to be ready. Like I see every day a new coach coming in. He's never coached the quarterbacks, but they're like, do you want to coach quarterbacks this year? And then he's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, let's do it. Just step into a role and fail as much as you can. Like that's all how I got better at every single thing. Like I played on Team Canada Women's World Football. They gave me little to no instruction. I still brought that in, and look at where I am today. I climbed my way. And you know how I did that? Through networking. It's going to be your biggest powerful friend. LinkedIn is great. I send people messages every single day. I still handwrite letters to NFL coaches, NFL GMs, player personnel every single day to try to get back into that industry. And you know how I got that? I wrote letters to NCAA coaches as well. Networking is going to be your biggest friend. I went to the NFL Combine and bugged every single person to talk to them. I went to the National Football Coaches Association this year and bugged everybody till I got to speak on stage. So attend every single event of the industry you want to be in and keep clawing your way to the top. One of the books I read was 48 Laws of Power, and it taught me how to kind of use my power and almost, I know it's tough, but you'll understand if you're a woman, manipulate your way into these guys' brains, into their hearts, so they see you as an ally, instead of someone they got to kind of fight against in this industry. You have to do this for yourself. Network, don't quit, 48 Laws of Power, and learn to say no to things you don't want to. Don't always be that yes person. The first football job I ever had, one of the coaches said, can you go get me coffee? I said, no, I'm not your assistant. I'm an actual coach. And he was just like, holy shit. All right, well, you know what, coach, can you draw me up some plays instead? I'm not getting you coffee. I'm not going to laminate anything for you. I kind of did that stuff later on, but you know what? I said no and set the standard. I'm not just your assistant here. You are the change in this industry, whether you think that or not. Wherever you are starting, you are the change. I'm trying not to swear because I swear a lot. I'm really passionate. You are that change, okay? A lesser man would have quit. Just know that in whatever you're sitting in front of, a lesser man would have quit. And make sure you're sitting there just be like, you know what? I got this every single day. He wants me to quit. So just know that. And how I know we're 40 years behind, we're still in probably 1950 in football, is yesterday we had a sexual harassment seminar, just like they were telling all the coaches like, hey, just a seminar, like an hour and a half. It meant a lot for me to know my staff was supporting me through that. But they all started laughing. They were on their computers. They started writing. They did not care. And after they were laughing, I was like, oh, what a waste of time. Until I stood up and I said, have any of you been in any of these situations before? And they said no. And they're like, why have you? And I said, yes. And that was shitty of them. And I said, I wish you guys would have just gave me some fucking respect and showed me that you were there to support me as a staff member. That was huge to me. And every NFL stadium I've been to, no women's change room for coaches, for trainers, for the women refs that come out there. That's dumb. I think these are things that need to be changed, and we are so far behind this industry, and those are things that bother me.
I love your passion, Amanda. And I mean, there's a lot of fuel in that fire for sure. I think this is our last question, which is good timing. We've got about 15 minutes left, so we'll go through this last question and then just some wrap up. But because this is a women in leadership group, we wanted a question for you ladies about, women that might be on the cusp of leadership in these male-dominated fields. Any additional advice for them? Leadership, is something on its own. So fighting that good fight in that specific field that's typically male-dominated. Advice for women. Let's start with Jen, then we'll do Amanda, and then Shelly.
So mine's very simple. Do not quit. Keep going. You are the future of women in that industry. And anything very, very, very hard is usually worth it. So don't quit.
Perfect.
I got to learn from the great Pete Carroll, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, because I saw him as a leader, because leadership is always top down. So no matter where you are, you can be a leader in your industry, even if you're just a graduate assistant to whatever you're doing, you are a leader. And if it's coming from you, you can be creative, you can be organized. I've always seen Pete Carroll is the best leader example I've ever seen in my entire life, because he ran team meetings so organized and so thought out every single day. Like the theme for the week was mental mindset and football IQ. He brought in like a mentalist to our team meeting to kind of get in the guys' brains and kind of shake them up and make them think like, we need to be using our football IQ. We need to be using our brains a little bit more for what we're doing this week. So everything you need to do should be calculated as a leader. Go to some leadership seminars. And this was the best thing I ever did, was just reach out to some different groups and attend some leadership seminars to show how I could be the best leader, organized, calculated in my approach, because I promise you, you'll have the best team, whatever team that is, going forward.
Absolutely. Okay. I think we said Jen. No, I'm sorry, Shelly.
That's okay, no worries. I think for this one, I'm going to circle back to what I had said in originally in the very first question, and I think it comes down to being authentic, being yourself. And authentic leadership means recognizing what are your characteristics, what are your best characteristics that you have to bring to, and how can you use that as a leader. So like I said, my characteristics that I felt was I'm a compassionate person, I'm empathetic towards people, I'm a really good listener, and everybody's always said that. So with that, I always made sure that if I had a big project on the go, or if I had a big event on the go, even though I had 60 people at different points throughout that event, I made sure I got to every single one of them and said hello and thank you for your help and thank you for being here. And I appreciate you. And I think that made it so that people got to know me. They knew that if they needed anything, they could ask me at that point. And being a leader sometimes doesn't mean you have to know everything. Being a leader sometimes means that you take what you can from the people who are around you, but you also don't have the biggest expectations of them either. Be ready to also give them direction. I think that was one thing that came up in a lot of these events that I used to do, security events, is that people would come in there and sometimes maybe they weren't 100% clear on what they were supposed to be doing. But I needed to make sure I said hello to them. Do you have any questions? And personally, they could ask questions without being in a big group, without being, put on the spot to not know everything. One-on-one was really important. So I used the characteristics that I felt were really important to me and that I felt I had, I did well, and use them in my leadership style, and try to be authentic. The next thing that I say is, and I think we can all agree on that, is lots of times in the RCMP, I was in the RCMP, but in the policing world, our mentors as women were women who were not married, did not have children, they came up pretty much acting like men. That's how they were supposed to be. That's how the men wanted them to be. So that's how they were. And anyone else didn't last very long, I'll be honest. But we've started to get better at that now. So it's easy. Be a mentor. Be that person that people can look up to. Be open to answering questions. Talk to the women. And it may seem like, oh, your favorite, you're playing favorites. No, actually, you're giving them that little extra that they need in order to be able to keep moving forward in this shitty job sometimes that they have, and shitty for everybody, really. Excuse my language. But in that, in a really difficult environment, and a difficult environment as women. So just be that sounding board, be that listener, be empathetic to some of their issues, and be a mentor. And I can't support women. Women support women, and that's what we have to do more.
Amazing. I just want to say thank you to the three of you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. A couple highlights: don't quit, push through, exude confidence when maybe you don't feel the confidence, but it'll come. You know, keep pushing and breaking those barriers. So thank you, ladies, for all that you do in your respective sectors, but just in general for women. We appreciate you being here and sharing your story. That wraps up the panel portion. So again, thank you to everyone for being here. Well, we've got you here. We just thought we would share the Women in Leadership chapters put on, there we go, put on some different events. So we've got a few things coming up here. Thursday, October 12th, there is a seminar put on by the WIL Alberta chapter, personal branding, LinkedIn, and resumes. So that speaks to Amanda's point about networking. That would be a great one. Also in November 21st, we've got Becoming a Purpose-Driven Leader. Janet Lee will be sharing some of her stories and what she's done. So visit WIL, the womeninleadership.ca, to register for those events that are offered across the chapters in the country. So just thanks for being here. Just a little bit of final wrap-up information. WIL was founded in 2001. It's a women in leadership foundation that delivers inspirational, amen, today was really, really good, programs that bring women together to collaborate in the development of their leadership skills and creates positive change in the future of women's leadership. So check out their website, sign up. The way you become a member is just by signing up for a newsletter. It's free. It'll tell you about all these other amazing events that are going on, and to continue the conversation and keep pushing through and breaking barriers. So thank you again to everyone for joining. Thank you to our panelists for sharing your stories. Have an amazing day and keep going, keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, so happy to have you guys. Thank you.
Bye.